before giving him the floor, I'd like to say a little bit about the context of today's lecture. You know, and and by the way, this lecture is organized by a small study group that we have. It is named QCPA, the full form of which is questions, counter questions, and perhaps answers. Our aim in this platform is to develop critical thinking in our academia, and we believe questioning is very important, even if we don't have answers to all the questions. Okay, so now we all know that South Asian powers, our neighbors, India and Pakistan, are going through a very tough time with their bilateral relations after the recent terrorist attack in Kashmir, India. And quite predictably, India accused Pakistan of orchestrating the attack, while Pakistan denied any involvement. However, we have seen drastic measures taken by both sides, initiated by India, of course, which was followed by Pakistan. And one of the first measures that India has taken is the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty between India and Pakistan. And it was followed by many other measures, including expelling diplomats and withholding almost all kinds of economic activities or transactions between the two neighbors. As a result, tension runs very high now with the possibility of another war between two South Asian powers, and which might have regional as well as global implications. So the world powers, including the US, China, and Russia, had already expressed their concerns and urged the two Asian, South Asian powers to de-escalate the situation so that we could evade a possible war in this region. And the smaller South Asian neighbors like Bangladesh are also very concerned because anything that happens between India and Pakistan affects the entire subcontinent, the entire neighborhood. Given this scenario, we thought from QCPA that understanding the transboundary water governance between India and Pakistan could give us valuable insight about the intrinsic relations between the two neighbors and their reliance on each other as well. This understanding is important because as the people of South Asia, the region, which I fondly call, and I wrote in one of my articles as Himalaya, here we believe that Himalayan rivers are actually our lifelines. Any attempt to thwart the natural flow of these rivers is tantamount to committing a mutual suicide. India and Pakistan need to understand this and act accordingly before it's too late. In this backdrop, today we welcome our speaker, Mr. Muhammad Faheem. I have already introduced him. Now I'd like to say a few words about his expertise. He received his MPhil degree from the prestigious Qaid-e-Azam University of Islamabad, and currently he is teaching and pursuing his PhD at the University of Peshawar. And he has been working on uh, this particular issue, which is transboundary water governance between India and Pakistan. He has publications, academic publications on this topic, and I have learned many things from him, from his expertise before, and I hope today we'll be learning more from Muhammad Fahim. And that said, just one housekeeping rule for the audience. Please keep your microphone off during the lecture. The lecture will be followed by a Q&A session, and in that session, you can raise your hands to ask a question, or you can write down your questions in the chat section. And please don't forget to mention your name and department. So having said that, I would like to invite Muhammad Fahim to deliver his valuable lecture.
much, dear Rashid, for this comprehensive introduction. Regarding the today's lecture, my plan is to share slides with the audience from an unpublished paper related to this topic. And in my presentation, I'll mainly focus on the main themes related to transboundary water governance. I'll keep my focus on India and Pakistan, but in one section of the discussion, I'll also highlight Pakistan's water governance or Pakistan's water sharing with Afghanistan, just to add to the geopolitical context of water governance between Pakistan, Afghanistan, and India.
Yes,
As we know that Pakistan shares its water resources with India through the Indus Basin system, but Pakistan also has another riparian relationship with Afghanistan, and Pakistan also gets 25 to 26% of its water resources from Afghanistan. So, in this context, I would be sharing the screen for this lecture. I hope you can see the screen.
yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, so this is the title of the discussion, which is Geopolitics and the Evolving Transboundary Water Governance between India and Pakistan, Recent Developments and Future Implications. And Rashid, I'm thankful for this clarification of QCPA. I was thinking about this abbreviation, questions, counter questions, and perhaps answers. I was not aware of this. So this is the
That
this is
was
the
a surprise for
introduction.
you.
This is the introduction of the lecture as well as of the paper on which I am working. It is an unpublished paper, and it analyzes the transboundary water governance relationship of Pakistan with India and Afghanistan. So some key words in today's lecture would be geopolitics, water governance, transboundary, non-traditional security, Indus Waters Treaty 1960, upper riparian, lower riparian, super riparian. So as you can see, this lecture is based on an unpublished paper which attempts to analyze the transboundary water governance issues of Pakistan with its neighbors, India and Afghanistan, in the prevailing geopolitical context. It explores the link of geopolitics and transboundary water issues. Here, I want to make one clarification. I'm using this term geopolitics instead of hydropolitics. So, in this context, we have to keep in mind that hydropolitics is also geopolitics. It is a branch of geopolitics, but hydropolitics is a narrow term, and it revolves around the concept of water politics. In the context of South Asia and in the context of India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, and to some extent Bangladesh and India, this politics is not just hydropolitics, it is connected with the broader regional geopolitics. As we can see that the recent incident of Pahalgam, which started with a terrorist activity, so it is basically an issue of broader geopolitics related with the unresolved dispute of Kashmir. But it has implications for the hydropolitics. It has implications for the transboundary water governance of India and Pakistan, and resultantly, and as a reaction, India has suspended the Indus Waters Treaty of 1960. And regarding the treaty, I would explain later on in this discussion. Regarding this Indus Waters Treaty, it was said that it was a model of conflict resolution. It was a treaty which sustained wars between these two neighbors. But now this treaty has been suspended for the first time. So we would be discussing the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty later on in this discussion. So, in this introduction, we also have to keep in mind that water scarcity or water insecurity, it is not just a problem of the South Asian region. Rather, it is a global challenge. But in the case of Pakistan, in the case of South Asia, it is alarmingly serious. If in the case of Pakistan, if we see Pakistan has an agrarian economy, it has a huge and rapidly increasing population, and in terms of water availability, Pakistan has reached to the threshold of water scarcity, according to the reports of different organizations, institutes. It has reached to this threshold of water scarcity. Pakistan is also, along with other South Asian neighbors, Pakistan is also faced with the climatic challenges. Now, Pakistan shares water with India in the framework of Indus Waters Treaty of 1960, and there is no such framework with Afghanistan. We also have to keep in mind this point that in South Asia, Pakistan shares its water with India through the Indus Basin system. Similarly, Bangladesh also has a water sharing mechanism with India, and similarly, Nepal also has a mechanism of water sharing with India. So we can say that with India, Pakistan was having a framework. It was having a bilateral agreement through which the water relationship, water was shared, water was governed, the transboundary water was governed between India and Pakistan. But with the other riparian state, which is Afghanistan, Pakistan also has water sharing issues with Afghanistan. But the difference is that with Afghanistan, there is no water sharing agreement between these two states. And there are many reasons for that. One major reason for the absence of an agreement between Pakistan and Afghanistan is the volatile situation of Afghanistan. Afghanistan has been in war since 1979, and it is also not having stability even currently. But this issue is very important, and I would in later on in my presentation, I would say how the geopolitical nexus which evolved between the ex-president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, and Prime Minister Modi, how this geopolitical alliance it had an impact on the water relations of India and Pakistan. So India has suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, but the voices regarding the revision of the Indus Waters Treaty, regarding the review of the Indus Waters Treaty, these voices have been there. India suspended the treaty in the aftermath of the terrorist incident which took place in the town of Pahalgam. But the voices has been there regarding the review of the Indus Waters Treaty. So this suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty will not only have an impact on the hydro side, on the water governance, on the transboundary water governance between India and Pakistan, and rather it would have, or it can have implications for the broader geopolitical relations of India and Pakistan, and it can also spread, it can also have implications for the broader region of South Asia. So this is the brief outline of the today's lecture. As I said, that this lecture is based on the paper on which I am working currently. It is an unpublished paper, so it has a theoretical framework. The second part deals with Pakistan, India transboundary water sharing, and in that I would be focusing on the recent developments. I'd also touch Pakistan, Afghanistan, transboundary water governance. This would be just an intro to add to the geopolitical context of transboundary water governance in the region. And the fourth point of the discussion would be regarding Pakistan's transboundary water governance. What can be the implication of the recent developments, and what options does Pakistan has, and what options do other riparian states of Pakistan have regarding the transboundary water governance. And the fifth point would be the conclusion of the discussion, and then we would have some discussion, comments, or questions and answers. So this is a brief outline of the upcoming slides. So theoretical framework, as my friend Rashid has been interested in discussing the theories of international relations. So I thought it to be appropriate to approach this discussion through an academic lens and through a theoretical perspective. In international relations, we are familiar with many theories like liberalism, like realism. For instance, the Indus Waters Treaty is basically a manifestation of a liberal perspective, as it showed an institutional framework of cooperation among states, between such states which are otherwise not having good relations. Otherwise, their political relations are not friendly. Their political relations are hostile. But this agreement of Indus Waters Treaty of 1960, it basically was a manifestation of a liberal perspective, and it was taken as an example that international law, international agreements, they can have impact on states' behavior. The other framework that is used in international relations is the framework of realism. As we are familiar, during the Cold War times, security was mainly understood in traditional terms. And such terminologies as balance of power, arms race, they dominated the security paradigm, and state was just taken as a referent object, and security was understood in terms of national security. But with the end of Cold War and with the manifestation of such changes as global warming and climatic changes, and with the works of writers like Robert Kaplan, for example, he wrote an article, Coming Anarchy, in which he specifically referred to the India-Pakistan water issues, and he said that environment would become a national security issue of the 21st century. Similarly, other writers, Joseph Nye, he worked on soft power, which is an extension of the liberal perspective. Barry Busan, he has worked on comprehensive security. So, in short, what I want to say is that even today, in the world, the security approach, it has evolved from traditional security to non-traditional security, and non-traditional security issues, they are considered important in other regions, especially in European Union. Such issues are considered important in the context of South Asia, especially then in the context of India and Pakistan, and then especially in the context of Pakistan. We have been taking security in terms of national security. Even today, the understanding of security in Pakistan is is national security. It is the security of the state. It is the security how it is understood in the context of realism, and the nuclear program of Pakistan, how Pakistan went for getting nuclear weapons. It was basically due to this Indo-centric approach, and we have primarily perceived threats from India. By we, I mean the state of Pakistan, the decision makers, and the security establishment. It has attached threats to India, and this perception prevails. So, start, what I want to say is that I have taken the theoretical framework of constructivism for my discussion, where I want to say that just realism and liberalism, they take international relations in simple terms. In the context of South Asia, especially in the context of India and Pakistan, especially in the context of Pakistan, it is important how leaders, how security establishment, how decision makers in the field of security and foreign policy, how they perceive each other. These perceptions are very important. Realism focuses on hard elements of power. Constructivism says that along with hard elements of power, to understand international relations generally and to understand an international issue, it is important to study the non-material factors, the ideational factors, the meanings attached with the comments of political leaders. So it is important, and I have taken this framework for this discussion, and later on in this lecture, in this presentation, I would take some examples of how decision makers, they have used their terminology to refer to the transboundary water governance between and among these states. For example, in the aftermath of the Uri incident of 2016 in Jammu and Kashmir, a meeting was called by the Indian Prime Minister, and he was attending this meeting to see the options related to the review of the Indus Waters Treaty, and where it was reported that the Indian Prime Minister was of the opinion that water and blood cannot flow together. Now, if you focus on this sentence, it conveys a message. It conveys a message regarding the prevailing geopolitics, and it also refers to the prevailing water governance between India and Pakistan, which meant that water was flowing from India to Pakistan, and Pakistan, on the other hand, was sponsoring terrorism. So this narrative has been there. It was there in 2019 in the context of the Pulwama incident. It was there in 2016 in the context of the Uri incident, and it is there even today in the context of the recent incident of terrorism in Pahalgam. And in 2016, the meeting was called to see the review of the Indus Waters Treaty, and now the treaty has been suspended. So I have taken this theoretical framework of constructivism and the idea is that we need to focus on complex issues. We should not take the relationship between India and Pakistan just in the context of liberalism and realism. And by that, I do not mean that realism and liberalism, these theories, they do not have utility. Realism and liberalism, they are dominant theories in international relations. And even today, realism and liberalism, they are considered dominant theories in international relations, and constructivism is comparatively a new framework which started emerging in late 1980s and in 1990s. So it has been there, but it focuses along with hard aspects of international relations. It tries to bring in the discussion the non material and ideational factors to understand international issues and politics. In the previous slide, in the last sentence, I have given just a title of an article, which is "Anarchy is what states make of it" by Alexander Wendt, which is a classic article on constructivism, which means realism considers that the international system is anarchic. Realist considers anarchy to be a predetermined condition, whereas constructivists say that anarchy exists, but this anarchy exists due to the perception of states about this anarchy. If states they opt to change their minds, if leaders they start thinking about international politics in a different way, in a cooperative way. So the perceptions about anarchy, the perceptions can change, and resultantly, the behavior of states can change from confrontation to cooperation, and from to cooperation and accommodation. So this is the context of the discussion, and this is the theoretical framework. So basically, it is important that water governance between the South Asian neighbors is understood by keeping in mind the geopolitical context. This issue of water sharing, it cannot be understood separately. If we see in the context of EU, I was just, when I was looking for this, when I was studying for this lecture, I came up with the example of EU, the Rhine River, which is shared by many riparian states. But in the context of European Union, institutions are there, and the water sharing states, France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, they have a cooperative mechanism, and they trust each other, they trust their institutions, and they share data regarding the flow of the flowing river. So there, for them, it is a scientific issue, and they are able to govern their water resources. Whereas in the context of South Asia, we, since there is a trust gap, trust deficit among the South Asian water sharing states, among the South Asian riparian states, we also have domestic problems. We also have domestic water issues, which I would refer in my other slides. So we also have issues, domestic issues related to the management of water resources internally, but the prevailing geopolitics make it easy for states to point towards each other in the context of their water resources. As the riparian states, they do not trust each other, they do not share reliable data with each other, which makes the governance, the sharing of water resources difficult in the context of South Asia. Now, in the second part of the discussion, which would be focusing on the recent developments and some points about the Indus Waters Treaty. So, in the first line, we can see that Pakistan is very much dependent on the Indus river system. Here, it is important that Pakistan and Bangladesh, they remained as one state. Now Bangladesh became a separate, sovereign, independent state. So this treaty was in 1960. It was signed in 1960, but this treaty has no impact on Bangladesh, as Bangladesh, India, has a water sharing mechanism on the other river systems. Basically, this Indus Basin system, it in that time it was having it was dealing with the water governance with the West Pakistan, and currently we take it as the West Pakistan remained as Pakistan. So even in that time, it had impact for the West Pakistan side of the Indus Basin system. So Pakistan is dependent on the Indus River system, and it gets 74% of its water needs from the system. This facts and figures, they may vary from in different sources. Uh, so this treaty was signed in 1960, and basically it divided the 6 rivers of the Indus Basin system. The eastern rivers, they were given to India, and the western rivers of the broad Indus Basin system, they were given to Pakistan. India is the upper riparian on this system, whereas Pakistan is the lower riparian, which means that the water of this system, it flows from India into Pakistan, and it flows from primarily it flows from that section of Kashmir, which is in which is held by India and which is claimed by India. So the water flows from that side into Pakistan. So this treaty has been regarded as a model of conflict resolution. It has been regarded as one of the most durable transboundary water agreements, as it remained functional even in the times of war. It has never been suspended. This treaty also provides a dispute resolution mechanism to both the water sharing states. For instance, it has a 3 tiers, it has a 3 level dispute resolution mechanism. For instance, technical issues. If technical issues emerge between both the states, they may be referred, they may be settled bilaterally by the Permanent Indus Commission, which has been there as per the provisions of the Indus Waters Treaty. Differences, if technical issues are to be settled by the Permanent Indus Commission, unresolved differences are to be settled by a neutral expert. For instance, in the case of Baglihar Dam issue was referred to a neutral expert, which was then settled by Sir David Leffert, who was a civil engineer, Swiss civil engineer, and he settled basically as a neutral expert. He settled the Baglihar Dam issue. Then the third level of, if a dispute becomes a legal dispute, then it can be taken up to the International Court of Arbitration. Now, we have to keep in mind that in 1960, basically this treaty does not have provisions regarding the climatic challenges. It does not have provisions about global warming, as we know that in that times such issues in the context of Cold War, in the context of understanding security in traditional terms, such issues, they were considered as low politics. They were considered as less important. So in the start of the 21st century, and with such writers as Robert Kaplan and others focusing on environment as the national security threat of the 21st century, global warming and such issues, they started becoming important. And it also became visible that the levels of water, they were falling, and they were falling in all the South Asian states, and the levels of the South Asian states, they differ. For instance, the water scarcity level in Pakistan is very high. It is comparatively better in Bangladesh. It is comparatively better in India. In the case of Pakistan, the water scarcity levels, they are low, and the reports of World Bank and other institutes, for instance, World Resources Institute, it ranks Pakistan as 17th water stressed states in the world. And as per the estimates and as per the water scarcity index, which is known as the Falcon Mark Water Stress Index, as per this index, Pakistan has reached to the threshold, to the level of becoming a water scarce state. And the level, the criteria is that if a state its water levels they reach to 1,000 cubic meters per capita, then that state is regarded as a water scarce state. So these issues they started becoming important with the onset of the 21st century, and with the Prime Minister Modi coming into power and the incidents of Uri and Pulwama and Pahalgam, the transboundary water governance, it has further become difficult and challenging. So the geopolitical reasons are the lack of trust, and the trust has been lacking between both the states since 1947. In the aftermath of the 2016 Uri attack on Indian troops, in which 23 deaths were reported, PM Modi's statement, to which I referred in the previous slides, that water and blood can flow together. This statement was given in a meeting to discuss the review of the Indus Waters Treaty, and then the Pulwama attacks, and then the recent Pahalgam attacks. So in the context of these recent attacks of 2025, the treaty has been suspended for the first time since this treaty came in force, since it was signed in 1960. Here, legally, in the context of international law, we have to keep in mind that this treaty has no expiry date, and it includes no provision for suspension. And I was reading that the Article 12 of this treaty makes clear that it can only be modified by mutual agreement. That has never happened. So we have to understand that this treaty has never been modified. It does not have any provisions regarding the suspension. So it means that India has done this suspension unilaterally, and India has accused Pakistan of sponsoring terrorism, and India has accused Pakistan of having support to those who have perpetrated this attack in the town of Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir. So these are some indicators. For example, there was a report given in 2011 regarding water security in Central Asia. It dealt with water security in Central Asia and South Asia, and this report basically clarified that India was working on different projects in Kashmir, and Pakistan was having concerns about those projects. So according to this report, a single project would not have any impact on the water flowing into Pakistan, but the total impact of these projects, it would be felt inside Pakistan. Similarly, other reports such as the report of ADB and World Bank of 2016, and even recent reports, it shows that Pakistan has reached to the level of water scarcity. It does not mean that India's level are very encouraging. India is also of the opinion that India is also facing shortages of water availability. The Indian needs are also increasing. The population is increasing, and their energy needs are increasing. The needs of the Kashmir Valley, they are also increasing in terms of the water resources. So India is also having its own viewpoint that water, it is also facing water shortages. So in this context, transboundary water governance with India, it has remained challenging, but in the current circumstances, it has become very difficult, and it would not only have implications in terms of water resources, but it also can have broader implications on for the region and for the geopolitical relationship between India and Pakistan, and both the states having nuclear weapons. So any misunderstanding cannot only bring both these states into a grave danger, but it can also have implications for the region of for the South Asian region. Now, this is the third part of the discussion, and it is just to give you an introduction and to make this discussion a bit complete, that Pakistan is dependent on the Indus River system. Similarly, Pakistan also has a shared water basin, which is known as the Kabul River Basin. And Pakistan gets its 26% of its water needs from the Kabul River system, and from where I am delivering this presentation. I am delivering this presentation from Peshawar. Peshawar is far away from Lahore, which is near to the Indian border and which is the capital of Punjab, whereas Peshawar is just 1 hour distance from Afghanistan. So Pakistan shares this. So the Kabul River, the water flowing from Kabul River, it is important for the Kabul River, especially for the districts of Peshawar. Peshawar is the capital of Pakistan's province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So it is the Kabul River is instrumental for the irrigation of the Peshawar Valley, comprising of such districts like Peshawar, Charsadda, and Nowshera. In Peshawar, we have a dam which fulfills the energy needs of the Peshawar Valley, which is known as the Warsak Dam. So it is important to understand that this water sharing issue is also there between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Pakistan has been using the water of Kabul River as Afghanistan was engaged. It was in a volatile situation since 1979. It has not been able to work on its infrastructure, and the Kabul River, it was flowing into Pakistan. But recently, when Afghanistan got some stability, especially in the time of President Ashraf Ghani, who had a war, the war on terror was going on. Pakistan on one side was having alliance with the United States of America to fight to help the US in its war on terror. So in that context, Prime Minister Modi and Ashraf Ghani, they came close to each other geopolitically, and November 2016, when the SAARC meeting was boycotted by India, Afghanistan also supported India in that move. Afghanistan also boycotted that SAARC that SAARC summit. Regarding the transboundary water governance and the geopolitical nexus between India and Pakistan, India supported Afghanistan in the times of Ashraf Ghani. India gave financial support to Afghanistan to build some dams. India backed the ambitious policy of dams. Afghanistan considered revamping its water infrastructure as 80% population of Afghanistan resides in rural areas, and they are dependent on water. Similarly, industry is also dependent on water resources. Water is needed for energy. Similarly, 20 million people, they live in the Kabul River Basin, and it is expected that the population of the Kabul River Basin would rise to it would rise to 37 million by 2050. 7 million people in in Afghanistan depend on it. So this is also important. It is also important that in February 2021, some months before the Taliban government took power in Afghanistan, in August 2021, an MOU was signed between Afghanistan and India regarding the construction of Shatut Dam, which was supposed to provide drinking water to the residents of Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, and India pledged to $36 million to the Afghan government under Ashraf Ghani. Here, Ashraf Ghani gave a statement which is also important in the context of the theoretical framework of constructivism. Earlier, Modi said that water and blood cannot flow together. Now, here Ashraf Ghani gave a statement that we are thankful to India for the gift of life. So these words, for the gift of life, these words they provide hints about an evolving relationship. Now, as a sovereign state, Afghanistan also has rights in the context of international law. It also has rights on its water resources, but Pakistan, as a lower riparian state of the Kabul River, Pakistan also feels concerned, as it feels concerned in the context of the water sharing with India. So it also feels concerned, especially in the time of Ashraf Ghani and the evolving relationship. Pakistan felt concerned that any stoppage of the Kabul River flow, it can have implications for the downstream Peshawar Valley. Rather, it can have security implications. Now, the Taliban government, they are in power in Afghanistan, so they are interested in other issues. They are dealing with stability, and they are dealing with they are more concerned with the terrorism, and they are more concerned with bringing stability to Afghanistan. But that does not mean that the water issue is not important for the Taliban government. It has been important for any Taliban government, for any government in Afghanistan. So, so Pakistan and India are not the only states facing the challenge of transboundary water governance and facing geopolitical challenges, but Pakistan and Afghanistan, as the other two riparian states, they're also faced with challenges in the context of their transboundary water governance. Now, in this second last slide, I just want to point towards some challenges and some options. Now, what can be the implications? What can be the implications of the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty? What can be the implications of the worsening geopolitical relations between the South Asian neighbors having nuclear weapons? So, what can be the implications? Now, the implications, they can be divided into two: human security. It can have human security implications. It can have implications for the farmers. It can have implications for the general public, as we can see that Pakistan is the fourth most water intense country in the world, which means that water usage is at the maximum in Pakistan. It has an agrarian economy. 70% of Pakistan's workforce is related with agriculture. In the context of climate change, the situation of Pakistan is not good either. Pakistan is expected to be seriously affected by climatic challenges and the rising temperatures and the growing population. So such challenges, they are referred as the non-traditional security challenges. They are referred as the human security challenges. They are the challenges which for which the referent object is individuals. For this, the referent object is the general public of the riparian state. In this case, we are referring to the general public of Pakistan. Now, and the second point, this just came to my mind that this current situation, it can also have political implications domestically. What does that mean? It means, in my opinion, it can help, it can perpetuate, it can promote, in, it can result as a factor in sustaining the security state image inside Pakistan. In Pakistan, already I referred that security is understood in terms of national security, in terms of weapons, in terms of armed forces, in terms of nuclear weapons. Pakistan's indicators on human security issues such as education, such as welfare, such as the health system, they have not been encouraging. So the current India Pakistan this incident of terrorism and the worsening of bilateral relations between India and Pakistan, it would not it cannot have implications just in terms of international relations. It can also have implications for the domestic politics of Pakistan. It can also have implications for the for democracy somehow inside Pakistan, and it can help in perpetuating the domestic institutional frameworks inside Pakistan. So this just came to my mind when I was preparing for this lecture. We might have discussion on this point. Regarding the geopolitical challenges, as I mentioned, that in the time of Ashraf Ghani and Prime Minister Modi, this Indo-Afghan nexus, it has been there, especially in terms of water resources, and India was willing to fund, to support Afghanistan financially and technically to build dams on the Kabul River, which Pakistan took as something having negative security implications for the security and the affecting the water needs of Pakistan. So currently, India and Afghanistan, the geopolitical link between India and Afghanistan, it is missing currently, but in future it cannot be said that in future this relationship cannot develop. Recently, the Afghan government and the Taliban government and the Indian government, they have engaged. So in future, this nexus may again evolve. It may again develop. So what are the options? As my friend Rashid mentioned in the introduction, that it is important for the neighbor states to evolve some mechanism, to evolve permanent solution to the management, to the governance, and to the sharing of this precious water resource. It is not just a problem between Pakistan, India, and Pakistan, Afghanistan. Rather, it is a problem between China and South Asia. It is an issue between Bangladesh and India. So it is a regional issue, and these states they need to evolve a cooperative relationship regarding the sharing of water resources. But as I mentioned earlier, that it is ideal that the South Asian states they have a regional framework for their water sharing, but it is linked with the broader geopolitics. If the geopolitics is troubled, the South Asian states, if they cannot cooperate with other important issues, they would also find it difficult to develop a cooperative framework for the sharing of their water resources. Pakistan and India, they had been successful in evolving a cooperative relationship, but now again we have seen after 60 years, or we have seen that this has been suspended due to an incident, which means that a cooperative relationship is missing, a trust gap is there. So options are improving. One is this regional framework. Another option is improving internal water management. All the South Asian states, they are also faced with internal mismanagement of water resources. Inside Pakistan, the different provinces you might be following, Sindh and Punjab, they are having recently they have had a political confrontation. They have had a debate regarding some canals which were to be built on the Indus River, and Sindh raised objections to the building of such canals on the Indus River, as the province of Sindh, it believed that it would have negative implications for the share of the province of Sindh in the water resources of the state. So I refer to hydro diplomacy to promote trust with neighbors, trying to evolve an agreed water sharing mechanism with Afghanistan. But this hydro diplomacy seems missing in current times. It is also important that non-traditional security issues they are given importance. In true sense in the policy making debates and allocating resources to dealing with non-traditional security challenges of Pakistan. So Pakistan recently came up with a national water policy, which was a good step in the right direction. So what is the conclusion of the lecture? The conclusion is that for dealing with the challenge of water scarcity and for promoting cooperative water governance, the regional states, not just Pakistan and India, the regional states will need to evolve a regional framework through hydro diplomacy in the presence of reliable scientific data to ensure efficient transboundary water governance. In the prevailing troubled geopolitical environment between India, Pakistan and Afghanistan, the realization of having such a regional framework seems very difficult. So if it seems difficult, then there are chances that water related issues would widen the existing mutual trust gap among the riparian states, and it might make the relationship more conflictual and strained in the near future. So this was today's presentation. I tried to prepare this presentation based on my unpublished paper for today's discussion. So Rashid, this was from my side.
I would like to request Professor Ghulam Rabbani to say a few words on this topic.
Okay, thank you, uh, Mr. Rashidul Islam, my colleague, and I would like to congratulate Mahmoud Faheem for such an insightful presentation. And when I was informed by my colleague, Mr. Rashid, that you are going to present this paper, I was a little bit excited because since we, the Bangladeshi people, are also in the middle of this kind of issues, because Bangladesh is also a very riparian country, and having 54 rivers coming from India, and there are big problems with water sharing between Bangladesh and India. So it was such a wonderful and insightful and thought-provoking paper, and time is very sensitive. So in the middle of that sensitive atmosphere, to discuss this kind of issues is also sensitive. So I am sure we were listening to you, we are enlightened about the issues, and you have made it academically, and as you have mentioned, neutrally. So I must thank you. I was just uh, wondering, as you have mentioned, the water sharing treaty has no expiry, and it has no provision of suspension unilaterally. But then also, India did it. I mean, the declaration made for the suspension of this treaty, right? So my first question: what has been the implication of this, suspensions as of today, as of now? And secondly, I mean, in what way Pakistan can respond? You have already mentioned that there are soft ways, there are hard way, soft paths and hard paths. So if you kindly just um, tell us about what has been the implication so far, and what should be the response of Pakistan?
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Regarding the question of the suspension, two questions. This question has two parts: the suspension of the agreement and what are the implications of this. So, this treaty, as I mentioned, that it has no provisions for, it has no expiry date, and it has no provision for suspension. But in international law, it is said that international law and world politics, they cannot be separated. And in international law, two principles are very important. One is the principle of sovereignty, and the other one is the principle of consent, which provide basis to any international agreement. So India is a state which is at an advantage in terms of its water resources. It is the upper riparian state. And in terms of power politics, India is comparatively a powerful state. So as an instrument of international law, India might justify it can justify its action of the suspension of the agreement by linking this issue with self-defense and with security. And we have seen in the context of war on terror, Pakistan was faced with drone strikes from the United States of America, but which was the violation of the sovereignty of Pakistan. But as a powerful state, as a superpower, United States of America was not saying that the US was violating international law. Rather, it was saying that it was doing it for the not only for the security of the United States of America, rather for the security of the region and for global security. So In international law, justifications can be found by both the states. Pakistan might say that it is something against the spirit of international law. As India has done this, has taken this step unilaterally, whereas in international agreements are to be modified and they can be discussed. Their nature can be changed, and even they can be withdrawn mutually. So Pakistan has can have its own justifications. India has its own justifications in terms of linking this issue with a broader issue of security. That if Pakistan is sponsoring terrorism inside India, inside Kashmir, then India does not have any other option but to punish Pakistan and to suspend its agreement with water sharing agreement with Pakistan, as Modi had already remarked in 2016 that water and blood cannot flow together. Now, the second part of the question, regarding the implications of this suspension as of now. The very first implication is the worsening of the relations between both the nuclear weapons having states. Pakistan has said that if India disturbs the flow of water flowing into Pakistan, this would be an act of war. So this declaration, this statement of an act of war between two nuclear weapons having state, it has serious implications. Regarding the water flow, both India and Pakistan, both these states, they do not have this capacity to store the water flowing from these rivers for an indefinite period. Pakistan has a storage capacity of just 30 days, which is just 10% of the annual water flow of these rivers. The world's average is 40%, which means that the storage capacity of Pakistan is very low. We are not in a position to store the water flowing from these rivers. But the implication of the suspension of this agreement, what it would do in future is that it would remove the predictability of water relations, of hydro relations between India and Pakistan, as this treaty said that both the riparian states, they would share data about the flow of rivers. They would also share the designs of their projects which they are building on these rivers. Now the suspension of this agreement means that India does not feel compelled. It is not binding on India to share any data of water flowing into Pakistan. So in dry seasons, in such seasons when the water levels are low in these rivers, it can have implications. And even it can have domestic political implications. And this can be used for promoting this narrative that India was doing water terrorism. India was flowing the water flowing into Pakistan, and this would sustain the image of India as an adversary, as an enemy state, which not only has implications for Pakistan in terms of its security and foreign policy, it also has implications for Pakistan domestically in terms of its politics. And in terms of the relations between the internal political and bureaucratic institutions inside Pakistan. So I hope this answers the aspects of your question, sir. Ghulam Rabbani.
Thank you, Mr. Faheem. Sorry, my question was, focusing on the water flow. Okay, I mean, by suspending this treaty, uh, did India start withdrawing water? I mean, what is the current flow of water? Is it
Sir,
disturbed?
water flow, it cannot be stopped just in a matter of days. It needs infrastructure.
Exactly,
It
exactly.
needs infrastructure. It would take
Yes.
time. But if the flow in the rivers inside if the flow of the rivers flowing to Pakistan, if the flow is high, so Pakistan might say that India is responsible for floods inside Pakistan. So if the flow is if the water availability gets low, then Pakistan would say that India is behind this and India has stopped the water flowing into Pakistan. So India has suspended this agreement if India feels that it has to disturb the water flowing inside Pakistan. It would need time, and in future it might design such projects which can have implications for not just for the flow of water inside Pakistan, but also it can affect the timing of the water flowing inside Pakistan. As according to the provisions of the treaty, the current projects in Indian held Kashmir, they are run of the river projects. Run of the river projects meant that India can use water of the western rivers which were given to Pakistan, and this advantage was given to India as an upper riparian state. That India it could use the water of the western rivers, but the condition was that the projects should be run of the river projects. India should not store the water, but it can use it for energy generation. It can use it for other such purposes. Now, in the context of the suspension of the agreement, it is not binding for India to have run of the river projects. Rather, India will feel will India can have storage capacities. It can build storage capacities on the western rivers flowing into Pakistan, which in future can have implications for the water availability inside Pakistan.
So what is then Pakistan's response?
Pakistan's response is that India has violated international law. India, by suspending this agreement, India has violated international law. It was a bilateral agreement which was signed with the agreement of both states. Now, India has unilaterally suspended. And Pakistan considers that the response of India is premature. India has not completed its investigations. In a matter of days, it reached to the conclusion that Pakistan was behind these terrorist this terrorist incident which occurred in Pahalgam. So Pakistan considers, and diplomatically Pakistan has also initiated some actions as saying that disturbing the flow of water would be an act of war, and as India sent back some diplomats of Pakistan has also responded diplomatically by sending some diplomats of India uh, back to India.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ghulam Rabbani, and thank you, Muhammad Fahim, for such an elaborated reply. And I see a number of questions our students have already written in the chat section. So I would like to go through those questions one by one. You can also see in the chat section the questions are available there. So the first question is coming from Khandakar Shihabur Rahman. He's a student, second year student of international relations. Uh, the question is social benefits and risks for Pakistan and Bangladesh in pursuing a joint legal case against India over transboundary water sharing disputes, and how could diplomatic alternatives better address regional water security? So the main, thrust of this question is if there is any possibility to pursue this issue unitedly by India, Bangladesh and Pakistan against India. Is there any possibility, whether it's legal and diplomatic or anything else?
Shihabur Rahman has asked a very good question, but To answer this question, I would say that recently we have seen some improvement in Pakistan-Bangladesh relations, but uh, before that, Pakistan and Bangladesh, they also have not been able to evolve a cooperative bilateral political relationship. So I believe that not just Pakistan and Bangladesh, but all the regional states, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, Bangladesh, they should have engagements with each other to settle their water governance issues. Regarding the venture of Pakistan and Bangladesh to deal with to deal with their water governance with India. I would say that all these three states, Bangladesh and India, they have a separate mechanism. I think both the states they have a bilateral agreement regarding the management of regarding the sharing of their water resources, and Pakistan and India they have a different nature of an agreement with each other, which is known as the Indus Waters Treaty. And I think the agreement between Pakistan and Bangladesh and India, it is known as the Ganges Agreement, if I'm not wrong. So I support this, but before having a cooperation on water resources, Pakistan and Bangladesh they need to improve on their geopolitical and their overall bilateral relationship. If understanding improves in other areas of the relationship and in other important areas of the relationship, I hope both the states they would be able to have some cooperation and to have a joint mechanism to deal with India as the upper riparian state of both the states, and to have an effective water governance mechanism.
Okay. Uh, Thank you. Now there is another question, which is from was a former student of international relations at Jahangirnagar University. Now he's a lecturer at the Presidency University. Salvan's question uh, is that given concerns that India may be leveraging its control over transboundary rivers in its dealings with Pakistan and Bangladesh, sharing similar water sharing arrangements, faces comparable anxieties. That means we have similar kind of anxieties. And in this context, what preparatory measures should Bangladesh consider, and what cooperative approaches might Bangladesh-Pakistan take to address potential challenges related to the strategic use of shared water resources? I believe this is something similar to the previous question. So if you can add something more to your previous answer.
In this question, yes, this question seems similar to the previous question, but one point is important. China technically is not part of the South Asian region, but China is a major power. Rather, it is an emerging superpower. China is a rising power. And in terms of the water resources of South Asia, China is considered the super riparian, which means that all the major rivers, China is the source of these rivers flowing into Pakistan. So Pakistan's relation with China and Pakistan's strategic alliance with China, in future we will see, and we might see that China also comes up with some response to the Indian suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, and China has already said earlier that it was planning to divert water from Tibet to some other parts of China, which are faced with water insecurity. So Pakistan has an alliance with China. It has a strategic relationship with China. So, in my opinion, China would also come up with some response to the Indian actions. But again, such move by China or such diplomatic statements by China would further worsen the geopolitics of the South Asian region. In my opinion, these states, if all these states they want to have cooperative transboundary water mechanisms, they would have to sit together and they would have to do serious diplomacy to evolve cooperation on transboundary water resources. If India is leveraging its position as an upper riparian state, China is the upper riparian state of India. And China is the upper riparian state of the South Asian region. So tomorrow, after 1 year, after 2 years, if China comes up with, if China decides to develop some infrastructure having disturbing the water storage or the water flowing into Pakistan, would not have just implications for India, but it would also have implications for Pakistan and Bangladesh, all the regional states of South Asia. And here we also have to keep in mind that China is not willing to become part of any regional agreement. China is not having a water sharing agreement with any South Asian states. So China and India, they are not having any bilateral agreement. India has suspended an existing agreement with Pakistan, but China is not under any compulsion in any compulsion to have water sharing with India. But that does not mean the absence of an international agreement between two states does not mean that there is no international law. Even if there is no agreement, the conventions of international law, the Water Courses Convention of 1997, and the customary rules of international law, they say that the upper state it has an advantage. It can use the water is found on its territory. It can use it for its advantage, but the condition is with no significant harm to the lower riparian state. It is an accepted custom. It is an accepted rule of international law. So even in the absence of an agreement, even in the time of the suspension of this Indus Waters Treaty, international law applies to all the states. And international law says for all the states having transboundary water sharing, the current principle is, initially it was considered, the first principle was that upper riparian state, it has complete sovereignty over its water resources. But with the passage of time, international law has evolved, and the current practice regarding the sharing of transboundary water resources is that upper riparian state, it can use the water resources, but with no significant harm to the lower riparian state. So even in the context of the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, international law compels India to take care of the needs of the lower riparian states. Either it is Bangladesh or it is India.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So the next question comes from Imran Hussein Imon. He's a journalism and media studies student of Jahangirnagar University. He, in fact, has two questions, but I think the first question has been addressed in some ways. I mean, that was about how we can use water resources as a diplomatic tool collectively. I'm talking about Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, West. Well, the short answer is in a liberal regionalist way, we could have used, but we could not. Okay. So I'm going for the second question. That is more interesting, in my opinion, and that is about the impacts of climate change. You know, as all these countries are going through, the impacts of climate change. So now climate change is kind of a common threat to all these countries, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Afghanistan. So given this scenario, can there be any collaborative effort? Because already we are having a natural calamity due to climate change, you know, and now if we artificially, exacerbate this calamity, that would be suicidal for us. So, given this scenario, can climate change unite the South Asian nations?
Thank you, Rashid, for this for explaining these two comprehensive questions. Regarding the first question, if we study the literature on transboundary water sharing, there are two perspectives. One perspective is that water is a source of cooperation. It has remained a source of cooperation among states, and this. Indus Waters Treaty, it was basically taken an example of this, that two states which are otherwise having hostile political relations, but they are cooperating for their water resources and they have an agreement with the name of Indus Waters Treaty. So one perspective is that water can serve as a source of cooperation between and among the riparian states. The other perspective, and in literature, there is more evidence for the first one, which says that water has been shared and it is shared by hundreds of states. And generally, states they have cooperated on sharing their water resources. But recently, with the climatic issues, with the global warming, and with rising temperatures, and with increasing populations, the another perspective has come to fore related to water resources. Now, what is the second perspective? The second perspective is the water war perspective, that water can serve as a source of states. They can their increased competition for this scarce and precious resource can lead states to a war, and for which water would be the main factor. So in current circumstances, in the context of India and Pakistan, I just mentioned that Pakistan has said that India disturbing the flow of water inside Pakistan would be an act of war. So basically, it is pointing towards the second perspective, which is the water war perspective. In my opinion, I personally believe that Pakistan and India they would not go to war for their water resources, as both the states as rational actors they understand the consequences of this. They understand the consequences of war between both the nuclear weapons having states. In my opinion, India has its own limitations, and recently India has revised its policy in the Indian held Kashmir, and it has come up with constitutional amendments making Kashmir as an integral part of the Indian territory. Similarly, Pakistan also has its own domestic political compulsions. So in reality, I believe that due to this current issue, both there are tensions, but they would not practically go to war with each other, but it would make the relationship more strained, and that would have implications for the domestic politics of Pakistan, and Pakistan has been a security state. This issue would further divert the attention of Pakistan from non-traditional security issues such as education, such as healthcare, such as welfare, and it would further. And in recent days, we have had some new experiments of missiles and weapons just to show that we are prepared and we are ready to fight a war. But having nuclear weapons, there is the possibility of an active war between and full-fledged war between both the states.
So from your constructivist point of view, the securitization is going on both the sides.
Yes, yes, yes.
So there is not much hope, I guess.
Yes, so if such narratives prevail on both sides of the border, then cooperation on water resources and having joint diplomacy in for such issues which are considered as low politics, if high politics is on stake, so it seems that the possibility of cooperation is minimum. For cooperation on such issues, overall, it is needed that the nature of relationship improves. Then such issues of cooperation and SARC and regional integration and water issues and climate, they can be tackled and they can be discussed.
Okay, thank you,
Regarding the impacts of climate change, so the climate change, it has become visible. It has become visible. It has affected the rainfall patterns. Earlier, rains would be predicted that in this month we would have rains, and but now, uh, in rain seasons we do not have rains, and in those seasons which in which rains were earlier not expected, we get rains. The temperatures has risen, the water availability has increased. So I think in the South Asian context, in the context of Bangladesh, in the context of Pakistan, in the context of natural calamities, in the context of floods, I think climate change is an issue which has become visible for a layman.
yeah, right. So I hope the politicians can see that as well, right?
Yes, the politicians can see it, but then it depends on the strength of your political institutions.
That's true. That's true.
Then you have to judge. Then you have to analyze the nature of your politicians.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that said, I would like to go to another respected colleague Muhammadullah, who has been waiting very patiently for long. Muhammadullah, sir, could you please uh, share your views with us? And then I will go for some other questions.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, perfectly.
And
yes, sir.
and I am so grateful to Professor Muhammad Faheem
Thank you
for
so
his
much, sir.
excellent, yeah, for his excellent lectures. I am from Department of Philosophy, and I have the query that, as you have mentioned, there is the shortage of water in all these countries, in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, and all we have difficulties. So, what I would like to say that how can we be realistic in this sense that we have to minimize all these conflicts in order to make our life peaceful. So, as you have mentioned, the cooperative mechanism. How can we reinstate this cooperative mechanism within South Asian region? As Russell sir mentioned and worked on this, that he named it the Himalaya. How can new theoretical development uh, help to bring new theories to make us a peaceful neighbor? This is my question.
Sir Muhammadullah, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
your question. You have given a philosophical dimension to this discussion. Sir, in my opinion, as I have taken constructivism as a theoretical framework, which basically advocates that perceptions are very important, ideas are very important. So, currently, if we see, especially in the context of Pakistan's relations with India, how India is understood in Pakistan, in the decision-making circles, in the security decision-making circles inside Pakistan, the perception is negative. cooperative. India is taken as an enemy. It is taken as an adversary. So if you have such image of your competitor, if a competitor is taken as an adversary, then in my opinion, cooperation becomes difficult. My suggestion is that the South Asian states, Pakistan and Bangladesh, I also referred that Pakistan and Bangladesh, they have remained as one sovereign state. Bangladesh got its independence. It became a sovereign, independent state afterwards, but they remained as one state. But Pakistan and Bangladesh, since their independence, they have not been able to develop a cooperative relationship. Having many commonalities, having religious commonality, but they have not been able to develop a cooperative relationship. And both the states, they have their own perceptions of each other, and those perceptions have remained negative. So I'm talking about the geopolitical perceptions. These perceptions do not mean the perceptions of the public towards each other, but the security circles, the decision-making circles, the geopolitical elite, their perceptions of each other, they have been negative. So my suggestion is, I believe that if the decision makers, in real sense, the decision makers can be politicians in some states. They can be democratic elites in some states. They can be some institution in some state. But whoever is responsible for having influence on the perceptions about each other. If the perceptions are changed, if we believe that cooperation has its benefits, we need to change the nature of our relationships and have to come out of this enemy narrative of looking each other as enemies. If we come up with a cooperative mindset and recognize each other as sovereign states, sovereign, equal, independent states, then, in my opinion, South Asian states as well as other regional states, they can develop a cooperative mechanism. For example, we can take the example of Europe. So in Europe, France and Germany, they were bitter rivals. They were enemies, and they were in Second World War, they were enemies. But when they decided that we have to come out of this because this is not in our benefit, this is not in the benefit of our people, and this is not in the benefit of the people of Europe, so we should have a cooperative framework. So they started the European Coal and Steel Community, which was a very limited cooperation related to coal and steel among the 6 founding members of the coal and steel community. But we saw that with the passage of time, this journey started in 1951 as a limited cooperation, but in 1993 it evolved into a broader not only economic union, but it also evolved into a political union. But in the case of South Asia, if we see, we have SARC, but SARC has not been successful. Now, it is not the failure of SARC. SARC is an organization. Organization has its members. So if SARC as European Union has been empowered by the member states of Europe, if South Asian states, they change their perceptions about each other, and if they consider that regional integration is the only way to develop a long-lasting cooperation in the region, so then SARC can be empowered. Then it also can provide dividends. It also can provide benefits as are provided by ASEAN in the Southeast Asian region, and as are provided by European Union in Europe. So the example of France and Germany shows that the nature of geopolitical relations among states can change with a change in perception perceptions about security and foreign policy, about oneself and about your neighbors and other adversaries. You not only have to change perceptions about your adversary, but you also have to change perceptions about your own identity. If you consider that you consider yourself to be a security state, then you would approach other states as not as adversaries, as competitors, not as neighbors and not as partners. This answer is a bit philosophical, and it clarifies the philosophical dimension of your question.
Yes, I'm satisfied. But again, the question is it the responsibility of the academicians to bring these things into existence? That means to make it realize to the politicians. Is it the duty of academicians like you, like Rashid sir, and others, scholar in India and other state in South Asia?
Sir, in my opinion, this initiative by Rashid and this discussion is basically an example of this. We are trying to build an understanding, and we are trying to have a discussion on this important issue. And we also discuss these issues in our classrooms with our students and with other in seminars. So with the passage of time, such discussions, such initiatives, they can bring change. And they need to be discussed at every available platform, at every available forum.
Right, absolutely. And there is a lot to do by the philosophers as well. Right. So that said, I think there are a lot of questions. I don't know how many questions we can cover. I'd like to request Mr. Khalid. Khalid is from philosophy department. I believe the Khalid who is also teaching philosophy in a college. I believe it is this Khalid, right, Mohammedullah, right?
Yes, this is this Khalid.
So Khalid, could you please ask your question by yourself?
First of all, sir, I would like to give a special thanks to everybody who have already arranged this kind of session. But unfortunately, I'm actually traveling, so my voice will not be clear. So that's why I'm not going to ask any question. I have already written it in the message section, so I would be very humble to you if you just read it out for our honorable researcher. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Khalid. Khalid's question. Yeah, as you know, World Bank was the guarantor and mediator of this Indus Water Treaty. So, what would be the response of the guarantor, World Bank, regarding the action taken?
Rashid, in my opinion, World Bank would be supporting would not be supporting the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty. But as in international relations, we have seen that states, they provide justification for their actions in the ambit of international law. Russia invaded Ukraine, so it was the violation of international law in the context of United Nations, as per the UN Charter and as per the opinion of the United States of America and as per the opinion of Ukraine. But Russia justified its action, and it declared that Ukraine was a red line and Russian security was in danger. So Russia has this. It is the priority of Russia. It is the foremost duty of Russia to ensure its protection and to keep NATO and European Union away from its doorstep. So I think World Bank would not be supporting such move by India, but it would be seen. I think it
But
is.
has there been any response from World Bank so far?
Rashid, specifically, I have not read any response from World Bank, but but we can see after this lecture, we might see we might find some response of World Bank, but personally, I have not seen any response from World Bank.
Okay, okay. So that's it. I think we can go for. Okay, so let me read it out for Shubhuj. During the recent visit of Bangladesh's chief advisor to China, the two nations discussed potential collaboration on water management and governance. Given China's expertise in large-scale water infrastructure, um, and its upstream projects on transboundary rivers like the Brahmaputra, how viable and sustainable is such a partnership for Bangladesh? Additionally, considering India's strategic concerns over hydropolitics in the region, how might this collaboration impact India's relations with uh, uh, India and broader regional water governance dynamics? Does Pakistan have similar collaboration with China, or should Pakistan pursue similar? I think you have answered certain aspects of these questions, but you can add a few things if possible.
Rashid, I think this question has been answered. I think I could not follow this question overall, but I think this question has been answered.
Well, if I ask a supplementary question from a strategic point of view, as Pakistan is a strategic partner of China, if I mean, is there any possibility that at some point China might want to assist Pakistan in some way to, mitigate this crisis?
Yes, Rashid, as a partner, as I mentioned in my presentation, this issue has transboundary water governance. Our water governance has two dimensions. One dimension is the international dimension, and the other dimension is the domestic dimension. The domestic dimension of water management mainly relies on two strategies. One strategy is the hard path strategy, and the other strategy is the soft path strategy. Soft path basically means bringing awareness among the public regarding the efficient use of water resources and developing water efficient techniques and spreading education about the importance of water resources. So it is a long-term path. The hard path is the storage path, and Pakistan currently, in after the Indus Waters Treaty, Pakistan developed some mega projects such as the Mangla Dam and the Tarbela Dam, and they were basically funded by World Bank. So these mega water storage infrastructures were built as a result of the Indus Waters Treaty between India and Pakistan. So currently, Pakistan is working on some on some projects, and China is helping Pakistan in those
Okay,
projects.
okay. I think I
For
got your point. I think
Yes, for instance, I can give you the example of Dasu Dam, which is in the which is near to the Chinese border. Dasu Dam, and in recent times there was a terrorist activity on Chinese engineers, which also had some, which also brought some challenges to even the relations of Pakistan and China. So Pakistan is working on some dams such as the Dasu Dam and the Diamar Basha Dam in the Gilgit Baltistan region, which is near to Chinese border. Pakistan is also working on on the construction of Mahmand Dam, which is close to Peshawar. So strategically, China is not only aligned with Pakistan for strategic purposes, but it also is engaged with Pakistan in water-related projects as well.
okay, okay. I think we got your points, and And there is something similar, going on between China and Bangladesh as well. There is a possibility of receiving Chinese help to construct a dam over Tista River of Bangladesh. But we have to first settle this issue with India. So it is still an unsettled issue here. Uh, Now the next question is from Tawfiq Ahmed. I guess he is from Russia University International Relations. It involves the involvement of STAR to reduce tension and provide a cooperative mechanism between India and Pakistan. You have already mentioned about SARC. So what could be the straightforward answer to this question?
Rashid, when I teach international law to my students in my classes, I say that international organizations, they depend on their member states. Because international organizations, they have states as their members, and states are sovereign. So SARC, the revival of SARC can no doubt have positive results for the bilateral relations of the member states of SARC. But revival of SARC, how SARC can be revived, it requires the will of the states to cooperate with each other. SARC can be made powerful. It can be empowered. It can serve as a tool of regional integration, but SARC in itself cannot revive itself. The revival of SARC depends on the intentions, on the attitudes of the member states of SARC.
Exactly.
So in EU, European Union is empowered. It has not empowered itself. European Union has come into existence as a result of the decision by the states of Europe to compromise and to give some part of their sovereignty to make European Union. But here in our region, in South Asia, the South Asian neighbors, especially then Pakistan and India, they are very much sensitive about their sovereignty. So unless and until these states, they are ready to give some part of their power, some part of their will, some part of their sovereignty to SARC, SARC cannot revive itself. But if it is revived, it can no doubt have positive impacts for regional cooperation and regional integration, and for the enhancement of people to people contact, and for increased trade among the South Asian states.
And that actually answers the next question as well. One of my students, Umme Anisa Tabassum, is asking how we can balance Indian hegemony in this regard. I think you have already answered. Regionalism is the answer. We cannot balance Indian hegemony without
Rashid, here I want to just say something about balancing a hegemon. So I think Bangladesh has a different strategy. Bangladesh is not trying to balance India. The problem of Pakistan is this, that strategically and politically, Pakistan has considered itself as an equal in terms of power to India, and due to this approach, Pakistan has always tried to balance India in terms of strategy, militarily, and even development of nuclear weapons was a step to ensure such balance of power. So balance in realist paradigm, balance of power is the only available option. It is the only option which can be relied upon. But in all circumstances, balancing is not a good option. I think Bangladesh is not trying to balance India militarily, or Bangladesh is not trying to balance any other regional state militarily. And due to this reason, I think on many indicators, in terms of economy and in terms of other indicators, eradication of poverty, I think Bangladesh has improved its facts and figures to some extent, whereas the facts and figures of Pakistan, they have come down, and the reason is that we are compelled with our Indo-centric vision of security and foreign policy, and due to this reason, other indicators of our overall security, they have fallen down because our economy has not been stable, and so economy has not been stable, and the military strategy is to balance a big regional power. So in those circumstances, the other elements of our security paradigm has fallen down.
Right, right. So, yeah, the liberal options are always there, but again, we live in a reality that is uh, too much realist, and therefore, however we try to, make a peaceful coexistence among the South Asian nations, always realist tendencies prevail over that. So that's the concern for all of us, and definitely Bangladesh can do much more than what we are doing now. But